what's up? My name's Leah. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to another reading vlog. So this week we're going to be reading a whole bunch of Easter Bunny smut novels. And basically I wanted to do this because I have this series on my channel that's ongoing where I'm doing different monster smut reading vlogs for each of the holidays. And so today we're doing Easter bunnies, and I have to say I feel like this is going to be such a cursed video because I found a whole bunch of crusty ass Easter Bunny novels on Kindle Unlimited. And some of these bunny men, let me tell you right now, they look um listen, it's giving chlamydia. It's giving Easter Bunny chlamydia. You know what I'm saying? One of the guys is a blue bunny. One of them looks like he looks like he's from Alice in Wonderland. Also, my cat Nellie Bell is playing with her little toy with a bell on it. If you hear ringing, it's just our girl, you know, doing her thing. Anyways, so we're going to read some really cursed novels this week, and then we're also going to do some adventuring as well because today we're going to this place called Leavenworth, Washington, that's like fairly close to where my parents live. And basically, it's this little like German style village where they have a whole bunch of little shops and stuff. And so they have like a bunch of German restaurants and little shops that sell like all kinds of different stuff. They have like art and they have clothes. And what I really am looking for is the bookstores because there's two bookstores over there, and one of them is new. I've never been to it before, and the other one I haven't been to in like years. So we're gonna go to some indie bookstores and do some book shopping today, and then we're also gonna go to some of the little like touristy shops that have clothes and stuff because I want to find some more rings because the only ring that I have that fits me right now is my wedding ring, and I used to get really cool like silver rings there, and they don't tarnish or anything. They're like really good quality, and they have ones that have like leaves and vines and stuff, and they're really intricate and pretty, but all the ones that I have don't fit my fingers anymore. So we're going to go see if we can find some books and find some rings, and I think we're also going to go do some thrifting because on the way there's also a big vintage mall, and this place is huge. It's a giant building, and it has like a diner attached that's very like 70s diner with like the milkshakes and the fried food and like the checkerboard tile floor and stuff. And then they have this giant vintage mall in the back that's like a huge, almost like a warehouse. And it's one of those ones where there's different like stalls. So different vendors have like their own little stall. So we're going to go there and see if we can find any like cool new stuff to take with us when we move to Iowa to decorate our new place. So that's kind of the plan. I'm also trying to find like a little wood nightstand to go next to my bed because the one that I have is like falling apart and I don't want to take it when we move. So I'm on the hunt for that. But if I find one at the vintage mall, it might be really expensive. So I don't know. We're going to see what weird stuff they have. We're going to do some book shopping. We're going to go through all of the little German shops in Leavenworth, and I'm going to take you along with me. And then when we get back, we'll probably do some Easter Bunny smut reading. And I'd like to do some reading outside in this vlog too, like out in the yard, like on a picnic blanket in the sun, you know. I feel like it's spring. I need to get out in the sun. So that's the plan. And so without any further ado, let's get into the reading vlog. Hello, my sweet petunias. I have a reading update for you. So I just finished reading, I believe this lovely esteemed novel is called I Banged the Easter Bunny. The 2025 reading is really quite the experience. Anyways, so we're following this lovely gal, little Miss Blonde thing, and she has a husband, mind you. So if you are not into like, cheating, then this is definitely not the book for you. But she is married to this guy who really doesn't give a shit about her like at all, and kind of just treats her like she's not even there. And she is a part of this like new community or whatever, and there's all of these women there who are part of this group that, like, puts on the annual Easter egg festival or whatever. And one of the ladies who she doesn't like comes to her house and knocks on the door and basically says, "We want you to put on this slutty Easter bunny costume and like be the Easter bunny and like run the Easter egg hunt for the kids and whatever." And so the girl's like, "Okay, fine," because she kind of likes the idea of like wearing a skinky bunny costume in public, which is a little bit weird, but whatever. And so she does it, and she's like in the field with the kids and like doing the Easter egg hunt. And once it ends, she's like walking back towards her husband because she is kind of hoping that like if she takes this job as the Easter bunny, she'll be able to like wear the little skinky outfit and like gain his attention again, since he just kind of ignores her. And he's totally like an alcoholic loser, and so she gets done with it and she goes back to see her husband, and he's like passed out drunk in a chair, right? So she's like, okay, well, cool. So she's kind of just doing her thing, and then she sees something weird in the woods on the edge of the field where they're doing the Easter egg hunt, and she follows it, and she finds this essentially like a portal to another world that's like a bunch of sticks kind of entwined into this archway. And she goes through it and she comes out not in the other side of the woods that she knows, but in this like magical meadow. And the story kind of goes from there, and she ends up running into the Easter bunny. And, things get a little bit spicy, as you might assume. So the thing about this that's interesting is I saw this cover and was like, why is he not a white bunny? Like, why does he look like that? You know what I mean? And so in this book, it's kind of weird. It's like there's a huge emphasis on the fact that the Easter bunny is like black for some reason. It's unclear as to why. In the cover, he looks blue, but it's very weird. And yeah, it's strange. But I think I'm gonna give it like a 3-star. The spicy scenes were really good, and it was just really funny and weird and kind of a good Easter time. But I will say that the bunny race discussions in here a little weird, didn't need it, but there you go. So anyways, that was an interesting time. It's a really short novella, and it's on Kindle Unlimited, so I read that. And then I think the next one I'm going to read is the one by Layla Faye. It's still an Easter bunny romance, but I think that the guy in this one is a little bit more humanoid and a little less like giant bunny man. But anyways, so there's that. Also, back to the book I just read for a second. Another thing in here that was really weird, other than the fact that he's like a black Easter bunny, and that's like weirdly emphasized, and like the race thing is weird, and she's like really into the fact that his thing is black as well, and that's a little weird. But there's also so many discussions in here about how big his tongue is. Like, Girly Pop thought he was like Clifford the Big Red Dog or something. I'm like, girl, this man's tongue is like, is it flopping out of his mouth? Like, what is happening here? Like, she emphasizes it so much, it's like really aggressively weird. Anyways, and the sex scenes with him are like also very bizarre. So anyways, that's the thing I read. But I'm gonna go read the one from Layla Faye, and I will update you when I have another reading update. Also, one last thing I forgot to tell you. With the one that I just read, the I Banged the Easter Bunny, there's also a really funny ending to this story, and it genuinely like made me laugh my ass off, and I wasn't expecting it. And so between that and like just the silly, goofy spiciness of this random girly pop magoo banging this Easter Bunny in the woods, I had to give it a 3. It's kind of, it almost gave me like similar feelings of like when I read Mating with the Mantis with some of my friends for like a buddy read, where it's just like out of pocket and the spicy scenes are like wild, but it's so funny, and it's just like a fun little romp, a fun little weird spicy time. You know what I'm saying? So anyways, that's why I give it a 3. I think it is really funny. I'm curious to see what I'm gonna think of the other books in this vlog. I think I'm really gonna like the one from Layla Faye because I've read her before and I really like her writing, and I'm not sure about the one from Dolly Davies. I kind of feel like I might hate that one, to be honest, because I've read some of her books before, and I've DNF'd at least one, if not 2. But I also read another one, a Christmas one, that I liked. So I feel like she's kind of hit or miss for me, to be honest. And the other ones I've never read from those authors before, so I'm not really sure what those are going to look like. But I am excited, and I'm curious to see how wild these Easter Bunny books get. I feel like they're going to be like totally unhinged, and that's the tea. So I'm going to go for real. Adios. my sweet petunias, I have some updates for you. So I did a little bit more reading since I updated you last, and I finished 2 books. So I finished the one by Layla Faye, I think it's called Bunny, and I really, really like that one. I think I'm gonna give it 4 stars. It was really good. I love Layla Faye's writing. She writes these romances that like have these really crazy premises where they sound like they're gonna be totally out of pocket, but then somehow she makes like the banter really good, and she makes them like really cute and tender. And I read a Thanksgiving one from her, and I read a Christmas one from her, and they were both really, really good. And I think this one is my second favorite from her. I think my favorite was the Thanksgiving one, and then the Easter one, and then the Christmas one last. But they're all kind of in the same like world, but basically there's like a human world, and then there's these little like, I don't know, pockets in whatever, the galaxy or something, where these like magical beings live that can like come and like down to earth and interact with humans, but only like certain times of the year. So we're following this lady, and she's a human, and she is a single mom. Her husband was just like really neglectful and kind of an asshole, and so she's been divorced for a few years. Her son is pretty young, I think he's like 7, and it's Easter morning, and she's like hanging out in her garden, you know, drinking her little wine, as you do as a divorcee, you know. She's like living her best life early in the morning, and she hears this weird like noise in the bushes, and she's kind of like in her own head, so she's not really paying attention. And then basically this hot Easter bunny guy like pops out of the bushes right as she's thinking about how she like hasn't been laid in like, you know, like many moons, right? And so this guy comes out of the bushes, and she's like, who the hell is this guy? And so it turns out he's the Easter bunny, and so he's like hiding stuff around the yard for her son, but he also might have like a little bit of an ulterior motive, and he might also know like more about her than she originally knows, right? And so basically she ends up like having her son come out in the yard, and he's like doing his Easter thing and talking to the Easter bunny, and she's like, well, I can't just like, you know, be mean to the Easter bunny in front of my son, right? And so, and of course the son like invites him into the house, and one thing leads to another, and she ends up like getting to know this Easter bunny guy. And it turns out that he might actually be like her dream man, you know what I'm saying? And they have some like fun, spicy times as well. And one thing that's really funny about Layla Faye's books in this series is that they're all like standalones, but some of them have like similar things in them. So this one kind of had some similar spicy elements in terms of like what he can do and like his powers and how they like manifest in the bedroom, as her Thanksgiving one did a little bit. And that's really funny to see, like he can basically like shoot candy out of himself during spicy events, and that's really funny. He basically like breaks her window at one point with like a Cadbury egg because it shoots out of his pee-pee. Anyway, it's really funny, but at the same time the Easter bunny guy is like really tender because he is, you know, from this like pocket universe, and so he's not usually around humans, and so he has kind of a hard time talking to humans initially, and so he kind of has to figure out how to like communicate with her. And he also, you know, is like a virgin basically, even though there's other like magic beings where he lives. The only person that he really wants is her, and it's been like that for like a while. And so he kind of has this crush on her, and he's kind of like new to all of this stuff, and but he's like done his homework. Like he's read a lot of books about like whatever, about like sex education and like reading fiction novels and stuff to try and like understand humans better. The boy studied for the test, you know what I'm saying? But it's just really cute. He's so tender, and she's also really nice, and they just have like a really tender romance, and I really enjoyed that. And then I also read Railed by the Easter Bunny, which is a really short novella. All of these books that I'm reading for this video are like shorter than I thought they were going to be, but this one is a little bit different. So this one is the first in a series, and this is the one that I thought I kind of wasn't going to like, but I actually ended up liking it a lot more than I anticipated. And basically we're following this girl, and she's in an abusive relationship with her boyfriend, and he is like descended from these gods, so he's got some powers, but he's not really that strong in terms of his like, you know, whatever magical abilities and stuff. And he's just like totally an asshole, and he's basically like almost a prince essentially in this world, and he kind of like runs everything in this valley, and everybody is like scared of him. And so she wants to leave him, but she knows that like nobody is gonna take her in, like she's not gonna be able to find her own place to live or like do anything because he has like everybody in the town under his thumb. And so she basically creates this scheme where she's gonna go to this lady who lives in this world who is like a god, like a full-on god. She's the god of spring, and she's like the only person who has more influence than her abusive boyfriend. And so she goes to see this god lady, and the story kind of goes from there. And she basically like makes a bargain with this lady who's like one of the old gods, and she is, I mean, not the worst, I wouldn't say, but basically the god lady who runs the whole season of spring, her son is the Easter Bunny. And basically she says, okay, you can, you know, get away from this shitty guy, because the goddess doesn't like her shitty boyfriend either. And she's like, okay, he hasn't really earned his power. He really shouldn't be in the position that he's in. So you can take his place as like the queen, essentially, of this valley or whatever. But you have to get pregnant with like a god's baby, essentially, so that you have like rights to the throne. And then once your baby is born, your baby will like run everything, and you'll be like free from all these shitbird men in your life. And the girl's like, okay, cool. So essentially the goddess like sets this woman up with her son, the Easter Bunny, so that they will have a baby and end up having like stronger gods and like their own line running this town. Anyways, that's like the premise. But Girly Pop McGee has to go and shack up with the Easter Bunny, and he's kind of a spicy dude, and it's very fun. And he's like a full-on like white bunny with a six-pack, and you can tell he's like kind of depressed and like lonely, and I think people are kind of scared of him because he's like a big guy, and he's, you know, he's not humanoid. He's very much like a monster, which I appreciated. But they have a lot of spicy times and kind of end up like falling for each other. And the cool thing about this one is that I think in this series there's a sequel to this, and I kind of want to read that, because there's a thing in here where, you know, she's in the middle of this like deal with the goddess, right? So she kind of is like bound to her agreement with his mom, and so she can't really like stay with him. Like if they have, you know, a romance, it's like it doesn't really get carried out because she has to like go back to the human world and like raise the baby and to be able to rule this like town. And so it's kind of like that Pirates of the Caribbean, Elizabeth and Will moment of like they're together but there's some magical stuff like keeping them apart even though they're in love and stuff. So I kind of want to read the second one because I think that would be really fun. I don't think I'm going to read it in this vlog, but I think it would be fun to read that. But I'm kind of surprised I like this book because I read the Leprechaun one in this series for my last holiday romance monster reading vlog, and I really hated it and I had to DNF it. And I think it's so weird that I hated that one but I really like this one. And I think that other one, the gods were just like nasty, and then this one they weren't that way, and so I liked it more. And not even that they were just more likable, but they just weren't like, you know, disgusting in terms of their behavior. So I appreciated that. I wish that the whole series was more like this first book, because if that later book that I read had been like this one, I think I would have really enjoyed it. So anyways, that's kind of my rundown on that. And then we're also going to go today to the antique mall, and we're going to go to the new independent bookstore. So when we get back from that, I'll give you a little bit of a haul, and then I'll also probably have read something else by then, and we can talk about that as well. So I will update you guys a little bit later.
belly belly. Oh, thank you for the kiss. Okay, only kisses though. Thank you. Thank you very much. You got the big purr. Yeah, you're a pretty girl. Hi, sweet pea.
Hello. So we are back from shopping. We went to the Vintage Mall and I went to the new independent bookstore, and I have some things to show you. So I didn't get any books at the bookstore, but I did get some other fun stuff because they had some really cool stationery there. And I don't know if I told you guys this, but I recently got into grad school and I'm starting my master's degree in library science in the fall. So I've been trying to collect some like notebooks and stuff that I can use for school to take notes, and I found this. Isn't this notebook so cute? I found this at the independent bookstore, and the brand is called Denick, if you can see that. Anyways, I've never heard of this brand before, but isn't this the cutest little notebook? I love that it looks like little stamps, and I think the colors and the pattern are really, really cute. And then I also got a little notepad as well, and it's also really cute with like little books and plants and stuff on it. So I thought those would be fun for work and school because I also work from home, so I kind of need a lot of like stationery stuff, you know? And then I also got this really cool bookmark there that's made out of like the hardcover, like an old school children's book. The back is just like a stove, if you can see that, which is really funny. But I thought it was really cute. They put like Mod Podge on it or something. But isn't it cute? Look at this little goose at the top. Isn't that stunning? So, anyways, I'm really excited about that. So that's my little haul from the bookstore. And then I also got a couple things at the vintage mall that we went to. So I really like going thrifting and like vintage shopping and stuff. If you didn't know, I also do like thrifting clothes videos on this channel sometimes. I need to do another one for summer, but it's been a while since I went thrifting for like home goods or like stuff that's not clothes. And so I found this little jewelry box at the vintage mall we went to. Isn't this so cute? It's got almost like stained glass in the top, and the inside is green, and it's got these like little compartments and stuff for rings and whatever, which is awesome because I've been keeping all my earrings and rings and stuff in like an old tin box. So I really needed a new like little jewelry box. So I think this is going to be perfect. I just think it's so cute. It was $5. $5 at the thrift. Anyway, love to see that. Super cute. And then I also got a couple postcards because Peyton and I are getting ready to move across the country at the end of June. So we're moving across the country and then I'm starting grad school. And when we move, I'm going to have my own office, I think, finally. So I'll have room for like my desk and hopefully like a filming setup and stuff. But I kind of wanted some postcards from like the area that I'm from. So I got a couple postcards while we were there. And this one especially like reminds me of like where I'm from, and I just think it's really cute, and I wanted to be able to like put these on the wall in my new office. And then I got also this one. Isn't this pretty? This one's more of like the orange groves, like California, but it still reminded me of like the West Coast, which is nice because we're moving to the Midwest and it's going to be really different there. So I thought it'd be fun to get some of these. And these are also cool because they're actually like legitimate old postcards that like people wrote on. And so one of these stories was about like a grandma writing to her granddaughter about I think it was this one, and she's writing about the like oranges that she picked from a tree in California way back, like a super long time ago. Oh, it says it was written on in March of 63. Isn't that crazy? So, anyways, I just thought that was really cool that they both also have like little stories on the back. Isn't that fun? So, anyways, I thought that was cool. I'm not sure if I'm gonna frame them or if I'm just gonna like put them up on the wall some other way in my office, but I thought they were really fun and really pretty. And then I also got this little clutch purse. So I've been looking for something like this because we are going to a wedding in June as well before we move. And it's a family wedding. And I didn't really have any kind of like a cute purse or like something classy that I could take to like a formal event that I can fit like my phone and my wallet and stuff in. So I got this, and it's really cool. It's bright yellow on the inside, and it says that it was handmade in Hong Kong. And I thought that was so dope. And so I got this. I might get some kind of like little gold chain to put on here as like a little strap. But other than that, I think it's so pretty. It's like iridescent because it has sequins on it. And I'm wearing like a lavender dress to this wedding. And I thought this would be really cool because with the shiny sequins, it almost looks like a little bit purplish. So anyways, I think it's going to be a really fun, like springy look to go with my dress. So that's everything that I got from the vintage store. I have not read anything else. And so I'm going to go read, and I will update you when I've finished another book, probably. Hello, my sweet petunias. I am back with a final reading update for you to wrap up this vlog. So I finished Dark Warren. That was the last book I needed to read, and this one was a little bit different than the other Easter Bunny romances we read in this vlog. So this one is about this girl who inherits this house from her grandma, and she and her grandma were like totally estranged. Her mom like ran away from her like the grandparents' house a long time ago and didn't really tell her daughter like anything about the grandparents or what the deal was, but she knows they had like some kind of falling out, right? And then she gets like a letter in the mail or whatever that her grandma's passed away and left her entire estate and like everything on it to the granddaughter Ivy. And Ivy's like, okay, whatever, I'm gonna go to this house, probably like, try to turn around and sell it as fast as I can. Like, I don't really know this woman. This is kind of weird that she would leave me this whole thing. And so she gets there and she realizes that the house is like this little cottage and it's on this land that has this big beautiful garden in the backyard. But the garden is a little bit weird. It like goes right up to the edge of the forest and everything in it looks really like lush and beautiful, but a lot of the plants she's like never seen before. And she ends up like running into the neighbor, and the neighbor tells her like some cryptic shit about like don't mess with things in the garden because she sees this almost like a headstone in the garden and it has like a bunch of rabbits on it. And the granddaughter Ivy is like, that's kind of weird. This place is kind of weird, but also like really pretty. And she's kind of trying to like learn more about her grandma. So she's like kind of asking the townsfolk. It's in like a really small town, and the house is kind of like isolated as well. And so she kind of like is kind of, digging into things around the house, like looking at books in the library and trying to like find anything she can about her grandma. And so she starts to realize that there's like something in the garden. And one day she's like in the kitchen and she sees these like gold eyes like staring at her from the forest. And she realizes it's this like rabbit man, hair man. Anyways, he is like tall and spindly and he's a rabbit. He's got the ears, you know what I'm saying? And she's like, what the fuck is that? Like, that is a terrifying monster. I don't know what's going on. Scares the shit out of her. And then he starts leaving her like little gifts, like little creepy, like little presents. And the story kind of like goes from there. And she starts to find out that her grandmother had some kind of like deal with the land that like kept the land in this town fertile and like made the crops grow. And she had some type of like communion with this rabbit guy. And apparently the like spring equinox or whatever is coming up in this town, and the spring equinox is a time where her grandmother, whatever, did something with this rabbit that created like prosperity and like fertile land and stuff in the town. And the townspeople all kind of know that her grandma was like kind of weird, but they respected her and knew that like she was doing something important that was like keeping all of their crops alive. And so they're like, she's weird, she's good with plants, let a queen mind her business. And so Miss Girly Pop has to kind of decide if she's gonna, try and figure out what this relations were between her grandmother and said rabbit man, or if she's gonna run off like her mom did and be like, I don't really want any part of whatever this is. And that's kind of the story. It's interesting because this isn't really like the other ones where, the other books in this vlog that I read were very much like monster smut. And this is still like monster smut, but it has more of this like kind of cozy fantasy, like dark fairy tale kind of vibe to it. And I thought that was really cool. The imagery in here of the garden is really pretty, and I like the setting. I like the kind of fantasy backstory of like how the grandma and this rabbit man and like their relationship like keeps the land alive, and the way that it's like a generational story. I really like generational stories, and so I liked it. I think I'm gonna give it a 3.5. It was well done. It was like well written. It was fun to read. It was a really fast read. It's on Kindle Unlimited, and it's a new release. It's a 2025 release, just came out in April. So if it sounds interesting to you, I encourage you to pick it up because I feel like nobody's talking about it. And I feel like with this kind of, rabbit man on the cover, it's, you really need to look into it, I think. But it's not like super smutty the whole time. Like the smutty stuff only really comes in like towards the end. So if you want something that's more fantasy and less like we're banging from page one, then I would recommend this. I thought it was really fun and just a little bit of a different kind of monster romance, I would say. And so I think with that, that's all the books that I have to tell you about in this vlog. I will say, I feel like this Easter vlog was like the most successful monster romance holiday vlog that I've done so far. So I did one for Christmas, one for Valentine's Day, one for St. Patrick's Day, and now Easter. And I think the other holidays, especially Valentine's Day and St. Patrick's Day, were harder to find books that were really good. And so for this one, I tried to like pare the TBR down to ones that I was like pretty confident were going to be more monster romance specifically and would be really fun to read. And I'm just happy that I really enjoyed everything that I read in this vlog. So I think that's great. And I think the next one I'm going to do for this series is probably going to be Halloween, I want to say. So I'm excited about that. I've already started looking into like some Halloween monster romances, but let me know down below if you have any suggestions for books that are like specifically monster romance set during any holiday. I would love to know your book recommendations. And if you made it to the end of this video and you want to give me a little emoji in the comments just to say hi, leave me a bunny rabbit emoji in the comments. And thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in another video very soon. Bye!